If you want to win more grants in 2026, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need. And most organizations do not have it, even though they should have built it like yesterday. I know you're here because grant writing is more competitive and more AI influenced than it has ever been. Funders are reading more proposals and they are more attuned to rushed writing, outdated data, and disorganized, barely thought through program designs. The organizations winning grants right now have done one thing that the others have not. They have built in a single source of truth to feed their AI. A well written, well maintained standard grant narrative is that source of truth. Without it, AI writes that generic content because it has nothing accurate to pull from. With it, AI writes specific, defensible, funder ready content in a fraction of the time. And the gap between people who are using this system of a standard grant narrative paired with AI and the people who aren't is only going to widen in terms of their success. So, this is the year to build it if you have not done so. All right, here's what we're covering today: what a standard grant narrative is and what it's not, every section of the SGN and what we call the program home bases, how the AI Grants Hub then can use your SGN to write grants with Notion AI. I know you're like, what is the Grants Hub? We'll tell you in a minute. How to start building your own SGN, and for consultants, a little bit on how to scope and price this as the systems build that it is. Okay, let's get started. All right, a standard grant narrative is just reusable narrative anchored in stable facts. It's the core story of the organization, the need, the program models, the demographics of the community served, and the proof that can be defended across different funding applications. And here's what surprises most people. And when I tell prospective clients this, they don't believe me. And then they get the SGN and they're like, holy crap, this is a lot of information. It's often 50 or more pages, and it's organized into named sections that map directly to what funders typically ask for. And it's modular, which means you would never just submit this whole thing as a grant narrative. It's broken out into different ways to express information. So the SGN has two main levels. One is the organization level SGN that is true regardless of which program you're writing about. And then there's the program home bases. So there's one dedicated home base or narrative per program that goes way deeper on that specific program than the SGN does. So, before I walk through each section of the SGN, I want to explain how the workflow actually makes this possible, because it's really the reason building the SGN matters more than ever right now. So, we use this within what we call the AI Grants Hub, which is our Notion based workspace that we build for clients. So, all of their approved language, data, research, program information lives there, including the full SGN and every program home base within it. Everything is organized, verified, and ready to use the moment they find a new grant opportunity. So, when a new grant opportunity comes in, or more typically, when one comes up on their schedule for us to apply to, here's what happens. First, the grant opportunity and its specific questions within their application go into the AI Grants Hub. Normally, we've put this in already. So the funder name, the deadline, the program priorities, the RFP, if there is one, and each application question entered into the hub, or more like copy pasted into the hub. Second, we have Notion AI draft the initial draft to the grant, and it's referring to the SGN and program home bases that are already built with approved language and all of that stuff. So there's no starting from scratch, there's no invented details, no re uploading background information into every new chat. Then, after we get that draft done, the grant writer, us, reviews and refines it. So the draft is specific and evidence based because it came from the organization's real source of truth. And then we as humans go through and revise it. Sometimes we'll, tag in the comments our client and say, hey, can you check this out? Is this okay to propose? Sometimes, like if it's a little new component or something like that. Sometimes we comment in the draft directly to the client, which is easy to do because you get free guests can come in and be on your Notion account. Third, the grant writer, of course, reviews and revises. So the draft is accurate. We double check for accuracy. We don't just rely on the AI, of course. And then we will get the client's feedback and ideas about everything in there. So before AI, we either used really well written SGNs and the grant writer would use them to manually draft, or we would hand them off to the client and they would then use them to manually draft. That was already so much faster, more efficient, more accurate, more detailed than starting from nothing. But with AI now, the same well written SGN is the data source the AI draws from. And as we know, the quality of the output is only as good as the quality of what you put in. That is why building the SGN well is more important now, not less. So here's something I want to be clear about. You don't need our AI Grants Hub to benefit from the SGN. Even having your SGN in a Word document, a Google document, is dramatically better than having nothing. And if you want to build your own system, whether it's in Notion, in SharePoint, whatever tool your organization already uses, go for it. The structure I'm walking you through today is the structure regardless of what tool you use. The tool is just secondary. All right, well, let's talk about the information, the sections you need for every standard grant narrative. They cover everything that is true about the organization, regardless of which program or funder you're writing for. First off, we do an organization profile for grant prospecting. So it's a very short overview of who you are and what you do. And we use that when we're evaluating whether a grant funder is even a good fit. We also have a table right at the top with basic info, everything most grant apps ask for: EIN, all addresses, SAM.gov registration, cage codes, candid profile links, social handles, of course, your leadership's information all in one place. This alone saves us so much time filling out that first part of the grant application. And if someone new is helping with an application, they have exactly what they need where they need it without tracking anything down. Next is mission statement. This is basic. It's a copy paste ready statement. So, of course, you're going to double check it for accuracy. You would be surprised how many organizations have been submitting a mission statement that was updated 3 years ago, and they're still giving them the old version of it. Okay. Next is your organizational history. We usually have 2 or 3 versions of this of different links, like one that's 150 words or under, one that's 500 words, one that focuses on this. You build multiple ones at the same time while all of the source material is in front of you, and then you can pick the one that best fits that opportunity. Next is organizational capacity, so important right now in grant application. This is where funders decide whether they trust you to manage their funds well. So, everything from info about your board and staff, including demographics, policies and practices, bylaws, and a narrative that makes the case the organization can actually deliver what you're proposing. So, you're going to include evidence of past success in this section, and you can also insert supporting documents in there as well. Next is beneficiaries of your work overall. So, specific data supported, place based, not just like people in need, actual demographics, hyper local, actual explanations of your service area, actual data. Next, a high level overview of your services. You're not going to go into every program in depth here. That's what the program Homebases are for. And then finally, a budget and budget justification. This is your overall org budget and the justification for that budget. We put it right at the end of every standard grant narrative, and we make sure that it aligns with everything you talk about in there. Next is a separate home base for each program. So this is a dedicated page inside the SGN. And if you're in a Word doc, it's going to be many pages. Okay. Inside the SGN for a single program or major project. If you're working in the AI Grants Hub, the first thing at the top of the program home base is relevant grants and reports. This is a filtered database that is pulled in from the Hub's main grant tracker to only show the grants and reports tied to that specific program, so you have everything right at hand. Next is your statement of need. We used to only write one statement of need and put it in the main SGN for clients. No longer. We have a different one for each program. That way, it is highly specific to that program. And of course, we include research and we cite our sources and have a works cited at the end. Next is the program overview with enough detail that someone less familiar with your program could draft a proposal narrative from it. Then you have the theory of change. So if we do this, then this will happen. And we don't just do a one statement, we usually do a paragraph at least, giving a little bit more depth to this. Next is goals and objectives. So, long term goals of the program, plus those measurable, time bound objectives. And go back and update these every few months. And the great thing about Notion is you can verify the page and set it to prompt you to update it on a regular basis, like whatever, period you want to go back in and update it. Then we have methods and activities. So the specific work that you do in the program, the more concrete, the better. Next, we have impact. So your outcome data, current, specific, tied to objectives, and just, of course, update that regularly. Use that verification process. Then the dreaded sustainability question. But this is where you provide a real answer to the question funders always ask. It's not a placeholder, although I think it feels like it. But when you have it in an SGN program home base, you can go back and see, like, oh, yeah, these are the grants up at the top of the program home base that I have already applied for this program, or I'm going to apply for. So you can actually write a real sustainability section. Next is monitoring and evaluation. So you talk about how you're going to monitor and evaluate that specific program with, the methods at which you're going to do it, the frequency at which you're going to do it, the tools, the person who's going to be doing it on your team. So in enough detail that someone else could just read it and start implementing. And finally, the program budget. This is another thing that most of my clients don't have when they get started with me. Of course, they have an org budget, but do they have it broken down by program? If not, guess what? If you already have this SGN in your Notion account, you can get the AI to help you figure out how much each budget category should be, or even what budget categories you should have that match up to each of the activities that you have talked about. And if you're already running that program, of course, you'll need to go put those numbers in yourself. But it's great if you're thinking about growing it in different ways to have all of that information there, to have the AI to help you generate new ideas about what you could do with money for that program. And finally, we always include a logic model. And once you have all this information laid out here, you can just ask without even defining where a logic model is at this point. AI knows and say, create a logic model based on everything in this program home base, and it'll do it and put it in a nice little table for you. Now, let me talk to you consultants for a second. Building a standard grant narrative is a systems build. It is going to take your clients so much further than any one singular specific grant narrative that you use to apply for a grant. So I want you to really think about the value of writing a standard grant narrative, even without the whole AI system. If you just do the document itself, it is invaluable. So try this service out with one client, see how long it takes you, and then really start to think about your pricing for future clients based on that experience. I can tell you this should be at least a $5,000 to $7,000 project, depending upon how many programs they have. And that's one thing you've got to think, how many programs do they have? And then if they have a lot of different programs or they're a really big organization, price it higher. In the grant practice, we teach all of our consultant members how to deliver this service and how to price it. And we also have it as part of a larger service that we teach them to offer that starts at $32,000 per client. So just to put that in your mind, this is of immense value to clients. Don't just think of it as some background thing that you should do for them while you're writing other grants. Okay, just had to say that. Oh, and one more thing for consultants. If you want help with pricing, scoping, defining deliverables, and stopping the undercharging that you're probably doing for this kind of work, grab the Grant Consultants Pricing Playbook below. The link is in the description. Here is the thing about 2026 that should change your approach to grant writing. The bar for grant writing has never been higher, and the tools available to meet that bar have never been more powerful. But the tools only work if the initial writing and the infrastructure, the system is there to use that writing. The organizations winning right now are not necessarily the ones with the best programs. They are the ones with standard grant narratives and system for implementing them clearly, quickly, and effectively. So build it once, keep it current, and stop rebuilding from scratch every single grant application. If you want to price this work as the high leverage system build that it really is, grab that grant consultant's pricing playbook I told you about earlier. The link is in the description, it's free. And if you want to go deeper and learn about the AI Grants Hub or the grant practice, those links are down there too. Also, please hit like and subscribe if you found this video at all useful. I will see you in the next one.